He'll fling it. Oh! That's going to count!
No, I wasn't expecting him to have the success that he had, but it was a very nice surprise.
Connor's been paying attention, watching film, talking to guys. Anybody inquire about that number 2 pick?
We need contributions from other people.
Who else has got to step up?
Sometimes you do some things to change some things up to get to a different spark.
Who do you think is the number 1 player?
Back to Atlanta. See Jeff Reynolds with it in transition. Ratliff, a whistling shot. My goodness. He is a beast from 2-point range.
What a week it was in week 2 of Major League Lacrosse. An 11-goal performance, a first win for a franchise in a new city, and a first career head coaching victory for Atlanta's new head man. Welcome here to MLL Press Pass. He is Chris Marshall.
Indeed, I am.
Travis Eldridge. Good week, huh?
Yes, good week. Exciting games.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun. We'll talk to people from all 9 teams over the next hour and a half. But speaking of the Blaze, we of course kick things off with Atlanta coach Liam Banks. Your first head coaching win here on Saturday night, Coach. What did that one mean to you, and how much were you thinking of Dave Huntley there on the sideline afterward?
Yeah, it's a pretty special win for me personally and my family as well. As I said after the game, I love the city of Atlanta. Feel like this is my home. It's been my home for 11 years, and to finally be able to bring a win with me leading the charge to the fans and the people of Atlanta was pretty special. And you talk about Dave Huntley and what he meant to all these players, and I got to spend some time with Coach Hunt too when I was with the organization previously, and to go out there and get a win and kind of get that monkey off the back was big for our guys. But now we move on, and we got the Lizards on Sunday.
Yeah, and one of the big performances for your squad came in an important position. Chris Madelon getting his first career start in the goal, came out and had 20 saves. Obviously, you didn't have Adam Gittleman due to some coaching responsibilities, but talk about how huge it was to have a backup that you have that much trust in.
Yeah, we talked to the guys about being professionals. That's what they are. They're professional lacrosse players, and Chris is a professional. He's been with the Lizards for many years as a backup, and he got his opportunity last week, and he took advantage of it. He did a nice job stopping the ball early on. There was a couple that got by him, but right after that made 3 or 4 big saves, got the ball out for us in transition, and was a vocal leader. So we're really happy about the way he played, but that's what we expect out of our players because they are professionals.
Hey, Coach, you mentioned the transition opportunities. You had a couple of long poles who certainly produced offense for you when obviously Scott Ratliff, which is nothing new, but Liam Burns, who you added through this in this offseason to that mix. What is having both of those guys and their ability to push and transition do for your offense?
Well, they both can handle, right? They're 2 of the best LSMs in the world right now, and Liam's been playing down low for us and Ratliff up top, and last week we tried to open it up a little bit more. I think we were a little cautious in our first game. Within the MLL, if you can get some numbers, there's some goals out there to be had on the table, and giving Scott the green light a little bit more to go this weekend was something that we concentrated on. But with him and Liam in transition, it opens us up to get those goals that are a little easier than earning them 6-on-6.
Well, and taking a look at the offense, you looked a lot more comfortable, especially with some of those new pieces. We saw, a goal each for Palasek and Gibson in week 1. We saw them combine for 7 goals. I mean, how high is the ceiling for this offensive unit?
Well, I think it all depends on how unselfish we are. Everybody wants to get their points and everybody wants to get their recognition, but for me, it's more about the hockey assist and those guys who are making the smart plays to set up those easy goals. Attackmen are supposed to score goals. That's their job. That's Tommy's job. That's Matt Gibson's job. And Kevin Rice is there to dish the ball and to score goals as well. So getting other people involved is extremely helpful. So, a lot of credit to our middies who were kind of making that extra pass, or Liam Burns or those guys on the breaks making that extra pass to get those guys some confidence early, and then they were able to beat some guys later in the game. So certainly happy with the way our attack performed. Was expecting them to perform like that more in the first week, but Florida did a really nice job of kind of containing them. But we'll look to play unselfish lacrosse, and if we do that, then we have a high ceiling.
You have a guy in Deemer Class who scores a hat trick for you, and he's gotten off to a pretty good start to this season. He's a guy who's a top 10 pick in this league a couple of years ago. Hasn't really found his footing yet. Do you feel like he's kind of finding his spot in your lineup and in this league so far this year?
Yeah, I'm really excited about the way that Deemer has kind of engaged with MLL Lacrosse. I know he's working in the industry now. He's coaching up at Calvert Hall, so he's constantly has a stick in his hand. And, he's come in with a different effort and attitude this year than I think our staff, kind of Spencer, the GM, and other people in the organization have seen in the past. And he's committed to being the best lacrosse player he can be. I told him, he's a 30-goal scorer in this league, and that's what we expect out of him. So, we're looking to continue to put some weight on his shoulders because we think he can carry it, and we expect production out of him. That's why he's here. He is a 30-goal scorer in my mind, and we'll look for him to continue to push himself to be that guy.
Well, and Brett Hyken had another productive day. He was at 50% for you guys at the face-off X. Took a big hit. Looked like he was moving a little gingerly. Is everything okay with Brett? Are you expecting him to be in the lineup once again this week?
Yeah, Brett has done a really nice job for us, and the face-off position's a pretty grueling position. I can remember my days of playing with Greg Gorenly and seeing all the tape that kept him together. So, he did take a hit. It was a head-to-head hit, and then he got slashed while he was on the ground, no flag. With that, the MLL is a tough league, so he took that physical punishment in the middle. But hopefully, Brett's going to be able to bounce back. He's a warrior. He's a face-off guy, and we'll be looking for him to work hard this weekend and help us get some possessions.
And like you said, you got New York coming up. They have a Friday game before seeing you on Sunday. When you've got a team coming in on a doubleheader, do you see that as an advantage or a disadvantage?
In all honesty, I see it as a disadvantage. I think it gives New York an extra game to get out there and play and find some more cohesiveness early in the season. So, I think they're going to be even sharper maybe than they were week one and in the first half in week two. So we're expecting them to be pretty sharp, have a little better understanding of what they're supposed to be doing, and kind of see it as a little bit of a disadvantage. So we'll talk to our guys, and we'll take advantage of all the practice time that we do have on Saturday and our walkthrough on Sunday, and hopefully that'll be enough time to get up to speed the way that New York is up to speed.
All right, Coach, congratulations on win number one as a head man in this league. We'll talk to you again next week.
Guys, really appreciate it. Go Blaze.
Coming up here on MLL Press Pass, we'll chat with Cannons coach Sean Quirk, how he'll look to right the ship as the team ships back up here to Boston in week 3. Plus, hashtag #HeATerp. We'll talk with Hounds GM Mike Serino, see if he's maybe making a move for Colin Heacock now that Matt Rambo and Dylan Maltz are teaming up down there in Charlotte. That's coming up here on Press Pass.
Sometimes you do some things to change some things up to get a different spark.
Starzia, former Virginia legend, is head coach. He's an associate head coach. Outside shot from 2-point range goes down.
Take a look at this again. Off the restart, just inside the 2-point arc.
So the rough start continued for the Cannons this week, losing 19-12 in Atlanta on Saturday night, but finally a chance to play at home here in week 3. And with that, we bring in Coach Sean Quirk. Why don't we go on the bright side here, Coach? First, Sergio Perkovic had one of his better games of his young career, 4 goals.
His best.
Yeah.
Best game.
What did you notice from him, and what have you noticed from him so far this year?
Yes, thanks for having me on, gentlemen. Sergio, he had a couple really good games for us last season before we shut him down, with his injury. And he came back. He worked really hard in the offseason, had some good moments, certainly at training camp. And this game against Atlanta, I thought he played really hungry. He got into guys when he was dodging. He was shooting the ball really well. We had him play some defense, some wings as well. So we felt he really played a complete game for us and showed a lot of great things out there with his passion. So we're expecting the same from him this coming week.
Well, certainly looking at just his physical prowess out there. I mean, we saw him run away from Scott Ratliff, and then absolutely play destroyer against some of those guys. So certainly excited to see him as his career progresses. But got to ask you, obviously, you're a goalie. We know that about you. We know that's a position that you appreciate. Both goalies sitting right now at just a hair over 20 per. What's the fix here, Coach?
Yeah, great goalies are only as good as their defense in front of them. And I think it's a combination of things, certainly, with our goaltending and our defense really playing more as a cohesive unit and, getting out on guys and really communicating on that end of the field. And that starts with our goaltending. But those 6 guys out there playing defense, and we just have to really tighten up. And I thought we did that a bit in the second half against Atlanta. There were some brighter spots there. And, Benny Pubic started to make some saves, late in the second and then in the third quarter to really give us a chance in that game. And then transition, we got to limit those opportunities as well. I thought our transition defense wasn't typical of what we've been doing, certainly in years past. So we just got to really refocus at practice this week and certainly dial in to get better at that end of the field, but also the offensive end of the field. So we're hopeful that, certainly good things are to come, and the guys are, doing everything that they can during the week to prepare by watching film and getting better, certainly so.
Yeah, Coach, you mentioned the defensive end of the field. You have 3 or 4 of some of the best long poles that, you could argue in the country for the last couple of years in the college game. When you look at Tim Muller and Brandon Mullins and Scott Furman, you add in Mitch Belisle, who's a veteran. How difficult is it in this league to get, especially young guys, to be able to gel together and play the defense you need to play in order to be successful?
Yeah, and we just spoke about Sergio. It takes guys, these are the best of the best players coming out of college, and it's an adjustment for them. The speed of the game and, adjusting to not practicing 6 days a week. And, we see that on the defensive end too. You mentioned we had Mitch Belisle in and Scott Furman, obviously both very talented players. Mitch is a veteran in the league, and we're so fortunate to have him early on in the season because he's not playing indoor this year. So his leadership at that end has been exponential. Scott Furman is a young player. We just saw such a jump with him from game 1 to game 2, and also Cody O'Donnell, who's been running at that LSM spot as well. So these guys are just going to keep getting better and better every week, and they're going to continue to gel as a unit. And certainly Brandon and Brandon Mullins and Tim Muller, are 2 guys that have experience in the league and are 2 of the top defensemen in the league. So it's just building that continuity and gelling as a unit, and we feel really confident that that's going to continue to happen.
Well, one of the bright spots we've seen has been at the faceoff X. I know you mentioned last week that Nardella was targeting this week as a return. Tommy Hughes right at 50% on the season. Is Joe still on track to be back with the team this week?
He is. I mentioned it. Joe's been, to his credit, working extremely hard in the off season. He's 100% cleared to play, and he will be in the lineup this coming week. So we're certainly excited about that. But Tommy Hughes, having just played 2 games in his career in the league, he really did some excellent things for us. And we know what he's capable of now, and we certainly will go to him as well.
And finally, Coach, you mentioned the goalie position and how there have been some struggles there. We talked about Tyler Fiorito and not sure about his status moving forward last week. Any update on if or when he may join you guys?
Again, Tyler was on the IR the past 2 weeks. We are going to take him off the IR this week, and we're still talking as a staff if he'll be good to go and play for us. But at the very minimal, he will be practicing this weekend, and we'll see how he's feeling, certainly.
And you going to get a chance to taste any of Davey Emla's Agent Zero Ale that's debuting down there at Castle Island tonight?
You know what? I don't know if I'm going to make it to that event tonight, but I'm certainly excited for the Cannons to be part of that, and it's really exciting stuff.
We'll try one for you.
Who would have thought? Who would have thought?
Yeah, Davey Emla. He scores goals, and apparently now he brews IPAs. Coach, we appreciate the time. Good luck here this week.
Thank you, gentlemen. Always a pleasure. Take care.
So to come here on Press Pass, we're joined by Hounds GM Mike Serino. How he's feeling about the 2-0 start there in Charlotte. Plus, looks like Chesapeake It's found its face-off guy. We'll talk Stephen Kelly with Bayhawks coach Dave Connell coming up.
Sometimes you do some things and change some things up to get a different spark.
Connor's been paying attention, watching film, talking to guys.
7 against the Bayhawks. And they quickly attack, and they score early here, beating Blaze Reardon. 1-0 in favor of Charlotte.
Dallas had no support here. Air Rambo catches this ball and puts it short side.
Welcome back here to Press Pass. Chris Marshall and Travis Eldridge back with you. Time to chill with Charlotte Hounds Legion. Hi, guys. GM Mike Serino joining us now. Let's start with Matt Rambo. 2 goals and 5 assists. It's the type of performance that you probably were expecting when you picked him in the first round last year. What have you seen from him?
Well, talk about a quiet 7 points, too, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Talk about impact on the game. Yes, obviously a fantastic player, the player we hoped to get last year in the draft as in that 3rd spot. But congratulations on a championship last year and a Tueraton for him. He was certainly a beat-up player last year when he joined us, but was still willing to get out there, start to get comfortable in the NML, start to fit in. So he's hit the ground running.
Yeah, well, and Mike, you mentioned Matt Rambo, and now you add in Dylan Maltz, and he has a terrific game with 4 goals. Rambo and Maltz certainly have that connection still going from the Maryland days. Any thought in trying to trade for Colin Heacock, just get the whole Lax DMC crew
You know
back
what?
together?
Not allowed to comment on trades, but my phone is close, so if somebody wants to talk about that. But the truth is, Matt deserves a lot of credit. It was a great recommendation from him. Coach Stagnita and I were really going through the player pools and trying to fill in. These early season games, as you guys know, can be tough, and you're only as good as your depth. And able to get him when people weren't available and some injuries. And he came in and did a tremendous job. And like I said, Matt was looking for a little bit of credit for him. And like most of us, we can't pay him more, but we did give him a title. So he wore assistant GM last week in the locker room, and he wore it well.
Certainly.
Matt Rambo,
We don't want to get
GM.
you a fine from the league for tampering, so I guess we'll leave that as it is. But a successful pickup on your side. You look at Charlie Cipriano. He had another really strong outing, especially down the stretch when Dallas was really pushing to try and win this game. What are you seeing from him this season?
Well, the veteran element was so important. He was one of the first players we brought onto the Hounds when Coach Stagnita was named head coach. He really wanted Cipriano to be a part of it. He felt like there was a comfortable relationship. He had done his work. Sip had spent his time in the league learning his craft like a quarterback would develop in the NFL, and he was ready to take on a franchise. And a lot of credit goes to him. He played hurt last year in a lot of situations. And in 2 years, he's gotten us in the playoffs, and we were 1 quarter away from a playoff bid last year. We were still in the contest and the fight at New York at the end of the year. So he's done a tremendous job as a leader, a team captain, and making the saves. And it's kind of a 2-headed monster for us, too. Don't be surprised if we don't see Pierce Bassett more over the course of the season. I don't feel like we can get through the way the schedule's set up with just 1 goalie. And so it'll be coach's decision when and how to employ the 2 goalies and get them worked out there. But we do see it as a 2-headed monster, and they are extremely supportive of each other. And the defense has confidence in both goalies. So that's an important part. A little bit injury proof, but also little changes in styles, and it certainly protects us over the course of a marathon season.
Well, and I know last season, we talked with Coach Stagnita about maybe overusing Cipriano in a stretch where there were 3 games in a relatively short period of time. You got a doubleheader coming up. I mean, do you think we might see Pierce start one of those games?
I think that's a great call. I think you might see Pierce in one of them. He, when called upon last year, he was Warrior Defensive Player of the Week versus Ohio there. So he had some success there in the past. But Coach may split him in half, may play as needed, may play the hot hand. But we learned our lesson last year. Trying to get through with 1 goalie in a 3-day stretch is just too much. They just see too much rubber.
Good suggestion, Chris. Maybe you can be assistant GM
this week, yes.
For the Charlotte Hounds.
The title can be worn weekly, gentlemen.
Yeah, so
Perfect.
There you go. You're in the running here.
Just email me a certificate.
Mike, when you talk about this offense, it's been more attack-oriented with the pieces that you've had the last couple of weeks. You still haven't seen guys like Mike Chanachuk and John Haas really get in the lineup. At least we didn't see him here last week. How do you feel like the offense could change as you get some of those important midfielders back in the lineup for you guys?
Well, one of the things is some guys have really had to play out of their comfort zone, so to speak, in the MLL. Adam Osinko, Will Haas have had tremendous amounts of offensive shifts. And not that the skill sets weren't there. They are. It's the fact that we've actually played kind of dual roles. One of the things in roster development over the couple of years, Coach Stagnita really, really wants to use two-way midfielders more instead of kind of a set of offensive midfielders and a set of defensive midfielders like you might see on some rosters. So as we've developed, there's more guys with two-way skills being used by us. And that doesn't limit that we didn't have two-way guys before. There's just more of them. So you're seeing guys play the offensive side more and having great production. So when a couple of those middies weren't available, like we'll get back Kevin Crowley, John Haas, Mike Chanichuk, we become very diverse on offense, and we can attack from a lot of different areas. So kudos to those guys kind of playing a dual role the last couple of weeks, and outstanding. Only going to make us more diverse as we move forward.
Yeah, it's something every team wants in this league. In talking to Coach Jim Stagnita last year, he was talking about, and actually some of the players too, they were talking about the tough, slow start that you guys had and how it kind of dug yourselves into a hole. How important is it to be off to a 2-0 start before you get some of those guys back?
Yeah, Taylor, two different games. Felt like nothing could go wrong against Boston in game one. You know, it just everything kind of clicked for us. A 25-7 score is not indicative of the talent really that Boston has. Very talented group, but it was certainly a great effort from us in game one. The reality of having to get back to it and grind against a tough Rattlers team really showed this past Friday night. So the fact that we're able to earn it two different ways is certainly a confidence builder. Grinding one out, picking up hard ground balls against the Rattlers, which look like one of the premier teams in the league right now, really helped build the confidence. And to fill up the net the way we did against Boston, which we felt was a talented roster, really helped the guys' confidence go. So we feel ready for this tough swing of 2 games in 3 days, and especially with some faces coming back as we're trying to work the lineup out. We're looking forward to it. And it's fun being home, guys. Fun being home. There's no doubt about that. Home this Thursday is certainly not going to hurt.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, as you know in this league, wins are wins, no matter how you get them in Major League Lacrosse. They all count the same. Congratulations on the 2-0 start. Looking forward to seeing you guys this weekend.
Thank you, gentlemen. Looking forward to it.
Good stuff. Coming up next here on Press Pass, we'll get coddled by Coddle. Bayhawks coach Dave Coddle joins us after his first win, back in the hot seat as the head man at Chesapeake. Plus, a drama-filled home opener for the Dallas Rattlers. Coach Bill Warder joining us to talk about getting home win at number 1.
Sometimes you do some things to change some things up to get a different spark.
Connor's been paying attention, watching film, talking to guys.
There it is. Got to have that grounder, though.
Loose ball and from his knees. What an incredible goal by Ryan Tucker. Watch one more time as Tucker stumbles from his knees, is able to beat Austin Cowell.
Chris Marshall, Travis Eldridge back with you on Press Pass. And Chris, Boca is for the Bayhawks.
It is.
Chesapeake getting in the win column with a victory this weekend. And with that, we have head coach Dave Coddle with us on Press Pass. And Coach, before we get to the Bayhawks, we want to talk about the news of the day first. You took over for legendary Maryland coach Dick Adele there with the Terps. He, of course, has passed away. He's obviously a person that meant a lot to the program and to the sport. What exactly did he mean to you?
Well, Coach was always a resource. If something went wrong in Maryland, you call him, and he was just a first-class man. You know, I think I told the Sun paper he was a Hall of Fame coach, but he was a Hall of Fame man. And there are a lot of people going to miss him around here.
Well, certainly, and obviously the outpouring of support for the family coming from the lacrosse community has been really a wonderful thing for that. So, but wanted to talk about the team a little bit. Obviously, you got a victory coming in against a really talented Florida team. You're able to turn it up on the defensive side, keep the score pretty low. What did you like from your team this weekend?
Well, we reduced our turnovers from 17 to 10. That helped us a great deal. Stephen Kelly dominated the faceoffs. I thought our effort was outstanding. That was a group of guys that were committed to playing extremely hard, and we really did a good job hustling. I was really proud. That goal by Ryan Tucker was a strictly effort goal, and it was a good day for us.
We talked last week, Coach, about your assisted goals and the lack of them. This week, I believe it was 9 of the 14 you scored or assisted goals. I mean, what did you see and notice just offensively with the ball movement this week as opposed to week 1?
Well, we really got a lot. We played 6 offensive middies, and our second line of Ryan Tucker, Matt Abbott, and John Maloney had 5 goals. And I thought they gave us great transition coverage getting back into the hole. And I think they were very unselfish offensively. And the other thing is, I think we had 3 goals by poles. So we ran the field a little bit better. And then this goal right here by Ryan Tucker is just a complete effort goal. So we had 3 extra man goals. So I thought it was just, we outworked. Right now we worked extremely hard to get this win.
Well, and taking a look down the stretch, sometimes you really got to grind out victories. Florida just didn't go away. And you had the opportunity to really put it to them with 3 of the last 4 goals to push that out of reach. I mean, how important is it to be able to go out there and close games like that?
Well, it's very important. As you know, the problem we have is we had 1 home game, and now we have 4 away games in a row. So we were staring down the barrel of 0-2, and now we go to Charlotte this weekend for a Thursday game, and then Denver the following week. So we got our work cut out for them. We're going to have to find a way to continue to compete like we did, continue to work hard, and continue to play together.
You mentioned the long pole goals, and Matt Reese is a guy that you now have a chance to really get in the lineup here this year. He was really good for Navy in college. And not a guy that I don't think tons of people thought were going to come in and light it up offensively, but what do you like about his ability to go in transition?
Well, Matt is outstanding. He's in outstanding shape. He was great off the ground. Last year when he was on our team, he's at the end of the season. I just don't think he had a lot of juice left. And this year he played outstanding defense. And his ability to score in college was one of the reasons why we drafted him. Having a pole who can hit the 2, having a pole who can score is something you really need in this game.
Well, and you talk about a player who's physically imposing and athletically gifted in Miles Jones. No points for you this week. At times, we saw him last year maybe used as a decoy to open things up in the middle. How do you see him fitting into the offense as the season continues?
Well, we obviously weren't using him as a decoy. He made a great play on extra man when he dodged and came in, and I think Austin Count made an outstanding save. We didn't hit the goal as often with Miles. We missed a goal a couple times, but Miles is an important part of our offense, and he takes pressure off everybody else. And we just got to get him to the point where he's being very productive, and that'll come soon.
I know we talked about the face-off position last week. You were hinting at that Stephen Kelly may have secured that spot. It certainly seems as though he's keeping that after the 20 for 26 performance. What have you noticed with his confidence now that it seems like this is his spot to keep?
Well, I'm not even sure those stats are correct because they had Matt Abbott facing off one time and winning. So I think Stephen won probably a few more, 22 out of 27, I think. But I think Stephen is really good off the ground. And the other thing he can do is if he loses a face-off, he can get it back. And I think you just saw that in the last clip. He gets the ball back, so he stays with him, and he's tenacious, and he can play offense or defense if he gets caught on the field. So he's a well-rounded kid.
Well, and you mentioned the 4 road games coming up, 4 to the next 5. You have 4 home games in a row towards the end of the season. How do you like the makeup? Do you prefer to have those home games at the end of the season or at the beginning?
Well, you'd like them kind of evenly distributed throughout your schedule, but it is what it is. We play our home games at Navy, and Navy has the quarterfinals and graduation, and that's just the nature of the beast of starting when we start. But at the end, if we can get through this tough patch here and get out of here at least 500, then we have a chance to get on a run at home when we get most of our players back. So right now it is what it is, and we just got to find a way to win, beat a good Charlotte team Thursday night down there.
Yeah, you mentioned Matt Abbott takes some faceoffs. I mean, I don't think anybody would be surprised if he took some faceoffs. He does a little bit of everything there from the midfield spot.
Excellent fling golfer as well.
Yeah, he does that too. Coach, we appreciate the time here, and good luck this week.
Well, guys, thanks for everything, and it is a sad day for Coach Adele.
Yeah, our best wishes to the Maryland community and the college lacrosse community and his family. Thanks, Coach, for the time.
Thank you, guys.
Coming up this week, you can see the Bayhawks on the road Thursday night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, taking on the Charlotte Hounds. You can see that game right here.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a great Thursday game. Tell you what.
Sports Network. Yeah, big stuff. Must-watch stuff there.
Not like Thursday night football.
Yeah.
This is a real game.
It's good Thursday night lacrosse. Coming up, it was a wild weekend for the Dallas Rats. We'll try to sum it all up with Chris Bachlet coming up. Plus, a frustrating first couple of games for the Outlaws. How has Coach B.J. O'Hara seen things? We'll ask him coming up.
Sometimes you do some things to change some things up to get a different spark.
He kind of has been paying attention, watching film, talking to guys.
There we go. Wolf. In front, and Dallas wins. Ty Thompson from Jordan Wolf. Thompson his 4th goal of the game.
Pretty good way to finish off your first regular season home game in Dallas Rattlers history. That, of course, giving Dallas its 2nd win of the season. Rattlers attackman Chris Bachlet subbing in for Coach Bill Warder this week, and he joins us now. Chris, first home game at the Star, looked like an awesome crowd. I mean, what did it mean to you and the team to get that win?
It was a huge win. We had a doubleheader that weekend, and we had a tough loss to Charlotte. And so coming into our first home opener, the fans watching us play for the first time, obviously a really exciting time. And it was a battle. I think that the fans got their money's worth there, OT game, and we came up with the win in the end. So definitely everyone was super ecstatic.
Well, you talk about the tough game with Charlotte. Obviously, the 1-goal loss there. Last week, you had a pretty big win over Chesapeake. But I mean, you've been in the league for a number of years now. To me, this year feels like it might be the closest in terms of parity that maybe we've ever seen. I mean, what have you seen from a competitive balance level?
Yeah, I mean, in the ML, when you look at all the lineups, it's just like every team you go through and they're all stacked. Everybody has so many amazing players, and so there's no game you go into and you expect just to win right out. It's always going to be a battle, and that's what you kind of prepare yourself. We always say, 4 minutes at a time, and that's what the focus is, just winning the 4 minutes and just kind of doing your best there. And it's knowing it's going to be a battle and a 4-quarter game, sometimes even overtime.
So obviously you guys are happy with the win there on Sunday in overtime, but there were some issues with the clock, some stoppages. How did that just affect your overall flow, and how were you guys able to deal with it and come away with a win?
Yeah, you're always going to deal with some adversity. First game in Dallas, they're using a brand new stadium, and they definitely struggled with the shot clock. So there was a lot of sitting around and kind of waiting for them to fix that. Things happen. They're going to get that stuff fixed and figured out. First game errors. And so as a player, you're just kind of you're focusing on the next play and not letting those things affect you. And that's what we had to do during that game.
Well, and taking a look at this Dallas squad, obviously not an expansion squad. This is an established team that's just playing in a new city. Had some really nice additions in the offseason, including yourself, and then traded up to get Ben Reeves. It smells a lot to me like this team is looking to win a championship this season. I mean, what's the feeling around the locker room? Are there goals set? What are you looking to do?
Yeah, I mean, it's still very early on. This is a long season. But, the Dallas Rattlers, the Rattler team in general is a team that's always been competing for championships every year. There's definitely a family tied to that locker room, and which, makes equals why they're so successful, in the playoffs and things like that. And so, these guys are competitors, and they hustle, and it's definitely a fun team to be a part of. It's an amazing culture, and so we're taking it game by game. Every game matters in this league, so I think that's where the focus is right now.
You mentioned how close this Rattlers team is. Obviously, probably one of the more tight-knit groups in this entire league. Do you have to learn some kind of upstate New York passcode or something to get into the locker room?
that's fun. Yeah. I don't know if Westchester, New York counts as the upstate. I don't think. But being in New York, I think I maybe get some cred. These guys, they're all, they've been playing with each other for a long time. And you have just a bunch of leaders, is what I see in this locker room. You have guys like Ned Crotty and John Galloway, who are coaching at the highest level. And so when they come into the locker room, they have a lot of respect. And, we have a amazing coaching staff that, the guys respect too. And so it's definitely very, a tight group, and it makes it fun. Playing for each other is definitely something you want to be doing in this league.
It's not often I get, that's funny. So I'll take it, every once in a while you get one.
I'm happy for you. Thanks, for you. Chris. But I got to ask you, I mean, before we came on, obviously I was admiring the backdrop and your hat and your shirt. Got some cool PAL lacrosse stuff going on right now.
Yeah, man. So I'm in Austin, Texas, where you got to keep it weird, but it's a very outdoor culture. So that's what I tried to bring to you. I got my PAL lacrosse, explore the field. And we have our X10 camps coming up with my family, and that's all about playing lacrosse and then being outside and experiencing the summer and camping kind of feel. So I'm getting all excited with that stuff up and coming, and so I wanted to kind of show you guys, show you the light here.
Obviously.
Hey, the Pals know the upstate New York pass code,
yeah,
so you're good.
You're in. You got the stuff. But I mean, just since we've got you, I mean, where do we find the information about the camps coming up?
Yeah, check it out. It's at x10lacrosse.com. I'm lucky enough that we run it with my family. So I have my two older brothers, Mike and Matt, who play in the MLL, and my younger sister Casey runs the girls side, where she's now on the professional level with the Philly Fire. And it's there's two camps in Adirondack, one in Adirondack, which is an overnight sleepaway outdoor adventure camp. You're on the lake, you're fishing, you're playing roller hockey, all the other sports that we grew up playing. And you're also having campfires at night and things like that. And then you have one in Colorado in the Rocky Mountains where, you have literally the best views at night. You're playing lacrosse, but you're also enjoying the outdoors. And we have whitewater rafting and things like that as well. So super fun. If you want to check those things out at x10lacrosse.com. We also have day camps that we run all over the country. So
yeah,
you sent me the post-collegiate link.
For those. Yeah,
I'll be there.
Upstate New York and Colorado, two of my favorite places. Chris, we appreciate the time here. Good luck the rest of the season. Thanks.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
And you can see Chris and the Rattlers hit the road again Saturday in Boston, coming up here to play the Cannons. Game time set for 6 p.m. Eastern right here on Lac Sports Network. Coming up here on Press Pass, what is Coach B.J. O'Hara telling his veteran Outlaws team after an 0-2 start? We'll ask him. Plus, Sir G.O., former Q star, off to a good start in Florida. We'll chat with his launch coach, Tom Mariano.
Sometimes you do some things to change some things up to get a different spark.
And taking a look at the standings so far through 2 weeks of Major League Lacrosse action. What's up, Hounds Legion? 2-0 atop the MLL. Did you see that one coming, Chris?
Absolutely.
Yeah, of course you did. Shocker.
I'm an expert.
Machine obviously off to a good start. And then you have the Outlaws and Cannons struggling so far, sitting at 0-2.
Feed in front and a behind-the-back score for Cam Milligan.
Watch this again as law feeds from behind next. Milligan on Mike Manley. He didn't have a shot front ways. So the only other option he had was to put it behind his back.
Cam Milligan, a bright spot in a drama-filled loss for Denver in Dallas on Sunday. With that, we bring in Outlaws coach B.J. O'Hara. Coach, why don't we start with one of the bright spots? Let's start with Cam. This time of year, obviously, you sometimes need a bunch of guys to step up with players out. What enticed you about Cam Milligan's game, and what have you seen with him so far?
Well, he's a protege of John Grant Jr. from Peterborough. Grew up a couple doors down. Was one of the little kids hanging around Junior when he was back home. He's the one that brought him to us. We knew of him from his days at Vermont, but getting a look at him, he came through our open tryout actually, and we liked what we saw. And he had a real good game on Sunday for us, and we'll look to get him in the lineup again this week.
Junior, good recruiter.
Junior certainly is a good recruiter. I'm sure there's a lot of kids out there that looked up to the living legend. But you take a look at the squad so far. Obviously, you got 2 losses on the season. It's not totally unfamiliar. The 2016 team struggled at the beginning of the season. How are you looking at the rest of the season? Is there at all any concern about these 2 losses?
Well, we prefer that we had won, but that aside, we did a lot of things well. Putting it all together for 60 minutes, that's been a challenge, and I think every team goes through that early in the season, trying to find out who we are. We're tweaking the lineup each week like everyone is, and it was certainly way too early to hit the panic button. We've done pretty well at both ends of the field at times. We got some areas we got to clean up. Our off-ball defense hasn't been very good in either game. Both teams have gotten a lot of assisted goals against us. Our wing play on face-off hasn't really translated into how well Tom Kelly's been dominating the draws. He's doing a great job for us, but we're not coming up with the ball as consistently and as often as we should be.
So, Coach, obviously one of the talking points coming away from that loss there on Sunday were the clock stoppages and the delays in that game down in Dallas. How did that affect your team?
Well, I wasn't going to talk about it, but you brought it up. It was hard for both teams. It was painful. It really was. It was hard on the players for sure. It was hard on the officials, trying to control it, and especially really hard on a great group of fans that were there, excited for the first game for the Dallas Rattlers, and certainly those that were watching at home. It wasn't our finest hour as a league, that's for sure. But it'll get better. I don't think either team had any advantage. I think what I tried to convey to our guys after was that certainly the Dallas Rattlers players and coaches had nothing to do with it. They did their jobs well. I was especially proud of how our guys handled it. We got down a couple times by three goals, and we seemed to always have an answer for them at both ends of the field. We had a couple chances in overtime, so we can't cry over that. It didn't go our way. We got to clean up those things, but it was not as great an experience as it could have been for the fans that were there that day.
Well, and you talk about having opportunities, and one guy that gave you a ton of chances, Matt Cavanaugh. I mean, when you see 50 out there, obviously you thought he was a bargain pick when you were able to pick him up. Big part of that championship run. I mean, is he ready to be one of the superstars of this league?
He's certainly got to be in that conversation. In 2 games this year, he's gone against some awfully good defensemen, and he's put up some really good numbers. And he's, he shares the ball as well as a dodger and a shooter, and he really, really works hard when the ball's on the ground. So he's certainly the guy that we're going to rely on a lot this year. And last year we missed him for a little while. He was injured, and we did miss him. And when we got him back for the playoffs, he was on fire.
Coach, you have a chance to not only to get back home here this weekend, sitting at 0-2. This is a veteran team for the most part for you guys with plenty of leaders. But what do you tell this team about being 0-2, but having the opportunity to go back there to Mile High and kick off the home slate?
You just got to put things behind you, and there was a lot of sour feelings on Sunday. But again, we got to look forward, and we got a couple guys coming in this week that I think will lift us up a little bit. It's tough. We're playing 7 games or 3 games in 7 days, like every team has to do at some point during the season. But this is our week, and we got to make the most of it. And being back in Denver to start it off, I think will help us a lot.
Well, certainly an opportunity to get back to 500 this weekend is always one that is appreciated.
Yeah, and it's May the 4th day.
It is.
There in Denver on Friday night. You
anything
excited
special
for that, Coach?
I wasn't aware of that. Can't wait.
there you
Coach
go.
O'Hara,
Star Wars
not
night.
a big Star Wars guy.
You know how the coaches love all those kind of distractions. I get.
Coach, we appreciate the time. Safe travels back out there throughout this weekend, and good luck in the home opener on Friday night.
You bet, guys. Thank you.
The Outlaws finally getting to play that home game this weekend. Back in the Mile High City, a really good one on Friday night, facing off against the Lizards for the second and final time already this season. Friday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on Lac Sports Network.
Go pick up one of those Star Wars shirts that they have. They're cool.
Got some good ones. Up next, we've got Tom Mariano joining us here on Press Pass. How he's feeling after the Launch's first loss of the season. Plus, he's a man. He's 40.
He's 40.
And he's playing in Major League Lacrosse. We'll ask Lizards coach Joe Spallina about his 41-year-old backup goalie.
Sometimes you do some things to change some things up to get a different spark.
He kind of has been paying attention, watching film, talking to guys.
Yeah, and that's a heck of a snag by him on that pass. There
Drenner.
Drenner with the goal.
And he scores to beat the buzzer. What a way to finish the quarter for the Florida Launch from their second-year star, Ryan Drenner.
Welcome back to Press Pass. Chris Marshall and Travis Eldridge back with you. A nice game for the Florida Tiger for the Launch.
Yeah, absolutely.
Must have known that Towson...
He's a pro player, tell you what.
Towson got into the CAA tournament. That's what it was all about. But Florida ended up dropping that game here this weekend, dropping to 1-1 with the loss to Chesapeake. We now have Coach Tom Mariano with us. Why don't we start with one of the positives? You talk about Ryan Drenner, and we saw a little bit of it last year. What have you seen with him here in year two?
You know, Ryan's a competitor. You know, I felt like he came up with some big plays when we needed them. He just knows how to play the game, find the cracks, find the seams, and just very impressed with his work ethic and kind of drive so far in the early part of the season.
Well, and taking a look at this game, it was a puncher's battle. I mean, you saw haymakers from both sides. Every time it seemed like Chesapeake was getting away, you were able to fight back and keep in the game. When you got such a young squad, I mean, how important is it to see the resilience in those players?
Oh, I think that's a positive. I think that's a good thing. I think we competed the whole time. I just thought our efficiency and execution at times wasn't where it needed to be. And I thought the Bayhawks did a nice job on the other side of executing the plays they needed to. So it's something, you know, we like our intensity, we like our drive, our commitment to competing, but, you know, we've got to be better in certain situations.
Well, one of the places that it appeared that you were not as efficient as maybe you'd like to be is at the face-off X. What's your plan for that position moving forward?
You know, I think it's one of those. I think, you know, Chris was a veteran. He competed. He was out there. You know, we've got to be better on the wing. You know, our wings did a good job at times. Other times didn't do a good job. I think, you know, obviously just like facing off, you know, you want to win the ball yourself. And if you can't get it, you want to make it a ground ball. And I think it's something we've got to be better at that. And, you know, we've got some different options coming up and, you know, we'll have some different lineups and we'll keep throwing guys out there until we find a guy who can make us better.
Speaking of a guy who can make you better, it seems as though you're going to get Kieran McCardle back as the Toronto Rock have been eliminated. How important is him for this offense to be able to gel in with all this young talent you have offensively?
I mean, you know, Six is an elite player. You know, he's one of the best players in the league. You know, we're excited to have him. We'll see if he plays this weekend. You know, he's a little banged up from indoor, you know, kind of giving him the option to rest. You know, so we'll see where he's at right now coming on Sunday. But just, you know, having him around, you know, we get better by having him out there. The moment he puts a uniform on, we become significantly better.
Well, and you're in game 2, 5-game homestand right now. Obviously, wins are important no matter where they are in the season, but seems to give you a little breathing room. I mean, how important is it to get these wins while you're at home before you have to go on the road to end the season?
I just think it's so hard to get a win in the MLL period. You know, so we've got to cherish and take advantage of every opportunity to win a game. But, you know, this home stretch, it's nice in a way because we kind of get in a rhythm and we play game after game at home. So it allows our guys to get comfortable. And then going on the road, you know, a decent amount of our guys are traveling anyway, so that doesn't really bother us. But we've got a great setup in Florida, great routine. So I think it's given us a chance to get comfortable, which hopefully translates to some wins on the field.
Maybe slightly outside of your routine, but certainly such a cool moment when you guys had an opportunity to welcome the kids and student athletes from Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School there pregame. How special was that moment for you and your players?
It was pretty amazing, to watch, the locker room, the interaction, to watch the young men and women's, their faces. They just had smiles from ear to ear the whole time. Guys out on the field, passing, shooting. It was just such a great moment, and I think our players really got a lot out of it. I thought both the Bayhawks and Launch went above and beyond to be a part of this. And for me personally, getting a chance to shake Andrew Pollock's hand and honestly to see the pain in his eyes and to hear what he's going through, makes me, just really put it in perspective. And that was just sitting next to him in the national anthem was a surreal moment for me, kind of one of top 3 emotional moments for me as a coach player. It was pretty intense.
Well, and you take a look at the boys team too for Stoneman Douglas winning the district championship, and you see the community coming together in support. It was certainly a nice moment for us to see, here in Boston.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing that they were able to play. I think, there's a lot of people out there that probably wouldn't have been able to do what they've done and have a really, really good year. They got a great coaching staff. They've got some very good players. They obviously stuck together and it's paid off for them. And, their boys and girls team did really well. So I just think you look at that and you're like, wow, man, this is just, this sport is great. It's the creator's game. It's a healing game. It's a medicine game. And I think just it's another evidence of that.
Well, and I want to ask you, you got a game coming up, obviously, this weekend against Denver. They have a doubleheader this weekend. They're playing New York at home on Friday. Do you see it as an advantage or a disadvantage playing a team that's got a doubleheader in the weekend when you got the second game?
I don't know if when you play Denver, you ever say it's an advantage.
You might be right there.
If you look, for, the last decade, they're one of the premier teams in the league. They seem to always be there at the end. They figure out a way. They've got a veteran group. We've got our hands full on Sunday. I think it's, in one hand, it's tough, but we all do it. But at the same time, you get to spend a lot of time together in a league where you don't always spend a lot of time together. So that creates bonding, that creates chemistry. It's going to be a tough game just like every weekend. Home game for us. We're excited. We're looking forward to it. Hopefully all their guys cramp up on Friday and can't play on Sunday and they can only play with 5 guys. We'd be fine with that. We'll loan them a couple guys.
Yeah, the Florida Heat.
The altitude, and then the altitude, then the heat. It's a tough transition,
really
Coach.
Throws you off. Coach, we appreciate the time. Good luck here this weekend.
Thank you, guys.
And you can, of course, see this launch team in action right here on Lac Sports Network on Sunday. Florida welcoming those Outlaws to Boca. The second of 2 games of the weekend for that Outlaws team. Game time set for 4 p.m. Eastern right here on LSN.
I have the Sunday matinee game.
Love that. Still to come, we've got 2 sides to history. How the Lizards felt about giving up 11 goals to Marcus Holman. And
I got a pretty good idea.
Yeah, we'll talk to machine coach Barrett Davis on the right side of that historic moment after that MLL record performance coming up here on Press Pass.
Sometimes you do some things to change some things up to get a different spark.
He kind of been paying attention, watching film, talking to guys.
Short stick on Tom Schreiber. You're covering the best player in the league and you force him into a turnover.
And a shot here from close range and another lead here for New York.
Realizing rather than throwing it through the defender's stick, he bounces it under his stick right there. That is sweet.
One of the bright spots to a tough one for New York on Sunday in Ohio. Lizards coach Joe Spallina joining us on the phone here on Press Pass. Coach, wrong side of history once again. What's your takeaway from that Marcus Holman 11-goal performance?
I think that it was an indictment of the type of day we had. I think we have to be better. It's obviously not acceptable, as far as the defensive performance. I think he was feeling it, and I had issue with some late in the game after he had the record. He's still shooting with 55 seconds to go on the shot clock, and he actually took a kind of like a half bogus 2-pointer as the game had expired, kind of lobbed it towards the goal, which would have counted because he released it before the buzzer. He had a great game. He's a great player, obviously, and he was feeling it pretty good. But that said, our guys need to do a better job of holding themselves accountable. and holding other teams accountable. I just don't, that's something that we can't allow it to occur. And, it started out with, we had a tough travel day. We wound up getting flights canceled out of New York, so we got most of the team in really late. We didn't have a chance to practice with the afternoon game, so I thought we looked exactly like that, which was the complete opposite of the outstanding team performance that we had against Denver. So that's what I told our guys afterwards. I said the positive thing is we're 2 games in. We just played both teams that were in the championship game last year, and we showed one game, pretty much close to a perfect game, and then the other game we showed pretty much one of the worst performances we've had. So, we set the bar as high as it goes, and then probably as low as it goes.
Yeah, to get both of them out of the way.
Yeah, I mean, it makes it easier that way. What I will say is that he was only 1 point away from the points record, so I mean, killed 2 birds, I suppose. But one of the bright spots when you look at this roster right now, and especially in this game, again, Rob Pennell. He's number 2 in the league in points. Jordan Wolf's got a game in hand. He's averaging 7 per. He's on pace to score 100 points this year. I mean, do you see this as something that can continue for number 3 out there?
Yeah, I think it's going to continue to grow. Rob is such a great player. I think the biggest thing is he's going to take what's there. If they're going to start playing Bachman and Manny a little tighter, off ball there and not slide to Rob, then he's going to take it himself and go. But I think if they slide to him, he's going to make the decision to pass. That's what the elite ones do. Rob is, he's the best attackman in the world, and I expect Rob to continue to make great decisions that he's done up to this point. So, he's the leader of our team, and he's, I thought he's played well, and he was, I think he'll be a big part of us coming around this weekend.
I, for one, would love to see him get to 100.
Yeah, that would be really cool. We've got to mention your over 40 goalie, Brian Carcaterra. The dude is feisty, man. He's going up there against Connor Cannizzaro, pushing him out of the way 30 seconds into his first MLL shift in a decade. I mean, what did you see from him once he got into the game?
Well, he grabbed me and said, "I'm going to give you all I have," as he was going in, and he was fired up and he was into it, and I thought he did great. I thought he did really well, and I think, he's a great teammate. He's been real vocal on our team chat. I was actually texting with him this morning. He wants to be part of this, and he wants to be the best teammate he could be. So, obviously, I think, he brings a great perspective. I think he was probably a little bit closer on my wavelength as opposed, as to allowing shooters to be in a groove without getting a little chippy and nasty with them. So I like what he brings to the table. I think he's somebody who cares. He's passionate. I think he was away from the game for so long that, he has such an appreciation for being part of it. And, I thought he was fantastic. I think he's somebody who's, like I said, I think it was really good for our younger guys to be around and see, the way veterans are supposed to handle themselves.
Yeah, passion is definitely one way to put Brian Carcaterra. That was awesome.
Yeah, certainly. It's fun to watch. I mean, we were rooting for him. I mean, everybody in the newsroom was getting fired up when we saw him run out there. But, another position where you had a big improvement this week was at the faceoff X. Brendan Fowler had a nice day, won 27 of the faceoffs that he took, also had 12 ground balls. I mean, did you like the improvement you saw from him at the X?
Yeah, I mean, he came out hot off the NLL game, and he struggled against Tommy Kelly, who's one of the best in the league. So, and Brendan's numbers were good this week. They were very good this week, and they could have actually been better. I thought we could have gave him a little bit more on the wings. And that's where you look at our team, and we're missing, we're missing Kevin Understein, who we're going to get back this week. We're missing, Matt Landis is going to be cleared, and the way he's looked through training camp, I mean, he gives us, we're adding a number 1 defenseman into our defense, But Kevin is a big part of us being a really good defense the last couple of years in our championship run. So, we miss his smart and his effort, and it's just, he brings that Hofstra chip that I thought we really lacked on Sunday afternoon. So I'm pumped that KU will be back this week too.
Can't have a team on Long Island not have that Hofstra chip. Coach, we appreciate the time. Good luck here this week.
Thank you, gentlemen. Have a good one.
And you can see the Lizards in action on Long Island coming your way Sunday this week. Atlanta making the trip to New York to take on the Lizards. Game right here on Lac Sports Network.
Yeah, back half of the doubleheader for the Zards.
Yeah, it's 2 games in 3 days. A tough one as you're out in Denver earlier in the weekend. Coming up, we'll poke the bear of the Ohio Machine. Talk about Marcus Holman's ridiculous 11-goal performance on Sunday.
Sometimes you do some things to change some things up to get a different spark.
Coming up this Saturday, the Hounds taking on the defending champion, the Machine. Machine looking really good in the opener.
Good to quite good, I'd say.
Yeah, that game coming your way, 5 p.m. Eastern time, right here on Lac Sports Network.
That the Lizards were beating this badly, or getting beat this badly.
Number 11. Wow. Standing ovation in the stands for Marcus Holman, just announced his that 11th goal. Even his teammates dropped their sticks and were applauding down there.
As they should.
You know, when you're feeling it, you're feeling it. Marcus Holman with
Find your flow.
Yeah, right? Single game MLL record, 11 goals against New York. It's pretty darn good, huh?
That was pretty darn good. I mean, I probably wish they played New York every week.
Right? Yeah.
10 goals for Junior, 11 goals for Marcus Holman. Man, that was special.
Yeah, super special. We're looking to get Bear Davis on with us here, but I mean, 11 goals, and you look at how he did it. What was the most impressive part to you?
Well, it's 13 shots on goal. I mean, you look at that. I mean, he took 18 shots. It was 1 off of the record for shots. But when you're feeling it like that, you let her rip. And I think when Marcus Holman gets like that, when he is feeling it the way that he was feeling it, I don't think anyone in the league is better than him when he finds that groove in terms of his shooting. I mean, obviously they're great shooters. Maybe you look at a guy like Ryan Brown as a better overall shooter in terms of maybe consistency. But when Marcus Holman is on, like he was, just dialed, I don't think there's anyone in the world that is a better shooter than he is when he's like that. And that's what we saw. No one's ever done what he did in this game, and he did it with time to spare.
Yeah, I also think it's pretty helpful that they had Tom Schreiber there in the lineup.
Yeah, all the helpers went, or all of Tom's helpers went to Holman. So
yeah, and you see some of the vision he has in the unsettled situations, skipping it across. I mean, no one has the vision of Tom Schreiber in this league. And we now have Coach Bear Davis. I know you were feeling the flow here, Coach, on Sunday. Hashtag feared the beard is what we're going with for you now, Bear. What was it like to watch Holman's performance there on Sunday?
You know, I just think the whole, obviously a pretty incredible performance by Marcus. His catch release has proven to be the best in the league, one of the best, if not the best in the league. And it showed up on that day. I mean, guy takes a red eye out of Utah, shows up and drops 11. It's pretty impressive. And then Tommy takes a red eye after playing for the Rock and getting in town and giving up 6 to him. So, I think it shows what kind of character and the toughness of those two and the rest of the team.
Well, certainly. It must be nice. The flight this morning, barely getting through the show. But you take a look at this. I mean, what's the secret sauce? I mean, you had Junior get to double digits for the first time ever, and then you see Holman. Nobody in the league history has done it that isn't in the Machine uniform and playing for you. What's your secret, Coach?
I just think that we our guys do a great job of doing their job. And what I mean by that is, we looked across the board. We probably had, 9 hockey assists, 15 assisted goals, and 25 goals. And when everyone's sharing the ball, and we had 10 different guys with points. It's tough. It's tough to narrow in on a team and say, we just need to stop this one guy and stop them. And I think our group, certainly has bought into that. There's several times where I think, I counted up, we have guys with 3 hockey assists, and that doesn't show up on a stat sheet anywhere. And you have to be unselfish to want to have that, that stat.
Well, and obviously, you look at, 19 runners out there, 19 players suiting up, and you were pouring it on to New York. I mean, how much does not having some of the depth maybe to clear out the bench, but also goal differential in terms of tiebreakers that we've seen been really a big deal play into the number of goals that were scored.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't really honestly thinking about that during the game. I do think with the shot clock and obviously a 2-point arc, it goes either way. You know, like you never really can get too comfortable in a game. And I also believe that, you know, it's hard. You can't hold the ball and you can't put in subs. You can't do anything like that. So you just got to play, you know, and nor do you feel comfortable doing that if you had the ability to do that just because of how good everyone is. You just got to keep playing. And I feel like the goal differential is that's a very real thing in our league. And, you know, that's another reason why if you could score, you got to keep scoring. Because, you know, New York could very well do that to us, you know, later in the season. And it could come down between us two to get in. And it could be a goal differential thing. And you got to be prepared for those things.
Bear, it couldn't have been a much better weekend for you. You're at the Ohio State game with the championship trophy there on Saturday, and then you come in, you have the ceremony and everything to honor the championship team, and then you go out and put on that performance. I mean, can you get any better than this past weekend?
No, again, I think we're always trying to raise the bar of lacrosse here in Ohio, and I think Coach Myers and his staff and his team there, they graduated, you know, quite a few guys that were very impactful to their run last year, and I think they've done an incredible job of just keep coaching their team. You know, they've got a lot of newer faces in the lineup, and I think it showed up on Saturday, and it was awesome for us to be there and witness them, you know, really get some things going in the right direction. And we're around them a lot, so I didn't expect anything less. You know, I knew they would keep coaching their guys up. Do a good job. And I think our guys, you know, we've talked a lot about championship hangover and making sure that we're doing the work off season. And so I think our guys are geared up to ready to prove, you know, just to themselves that we don't have a championship hangover. And so it was a good weekend for Ohio lacrosse for sure.
Yeah, certainly no championship hangover. Bear, we appreciate the time. Congratulations on the big win week 1. Good luck here this weekend.
All right, thanks, guys.
And some breaking news for us coming in. The Florida Launch trading for Ben Williams, the face-off guy from Chesapeake. In exchange, the Launch going to be sending a 4th-round college draft pick to the Bayhawks. That's breaking news just here this afternoon. Coaches, wheeling and dealing here on Press Pass.
Yeah, indeed.
Dave Cottle and Tom Mariano making some calls, apparently, after they Skyped in
or
with us.
Or fielding some.
We appreciate all the time. For Chris Marshall, I'm Travis Eldridge. We'll see you here next week.